Everyone, today we have a super awesome Hanguiando episode.
Yes.
I love all of our guests, and I get excited about the guests we have, but I got to tell you, today we have a guy that when we started the podcast and then he started following us on social media, I was like, damn it, if this guy would ever be on her show. And here he is today, DJ EFN.
Yes.
Welcome to Pero Let Me Tell You.
Thanks for coming, man.
I'm like,
he's fanboying.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, a little bit.
It's a combination of fanboying and also being like, oh shit, we got to bring our game because like,
he's
legit, like, a podcaster.
He's the host of this little podcast called Drink Champs.
You might have heard of it.
You may have heard of it. It's not a big deal. So it's like shit. We got to bring our podcast game for real. So thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
Love the Kendall shirt. Love that you're repping Kendall through and through.
I live in Kendall. I'm from Kendall. Like,
oh, so do you?
It's so funny when you tell people like outside of Miami. I'm like, no, I'm from Kendall. And they're like, what? I'm like, Kendall, Miami, Florida,
no, it's nothing.
Unincorporated Dade. So, speaking of that, so for today's episode, we were trying to get ready. We're like, okay, I know you drink Mama Juana,
right?
And you brought your own, which is awesome.
Brought a little something.
So I went to a very large commercial chain. I don't need to say liquor store down here. And I'm like, yeah, do you guys have Mama Juana? And the guy looked at me like in disgust. He's like, no, we don't have that here. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry that that in Miami.
Gables? Like, where
this
were
was
you?
in Kendall.
Oh, okay.
You know what store I'm talking about? Big store,
oh, yes, we know.
Yeah.
In town and country.
Yeah. On the corner. Next to Dick's.
Not to be confused.
Not to be confused. Yeah.
So he acted like.
And I'm like, freaking Miami, bro. Like, this is not, this is not Ohio asking for Mama Juana. Pero yeah, I was like, but I'm glad you brought your own. Yeah. So let's, first of all, like in your show, let's give him a round of applause.
Hey! I'm giving myself an applause. It's weird.
Listen, if you can't support yourself, who will?
Right.
Well, you give round of applauses to everybody else, so might as well give one to you today.
Absolutely.
So we're drinking.
I'm gonna tell you something. I don't usually drink shots of anything else other than Mama Juana, but today I will drink this shot of Tito with you guys.
Okay. I mean, please don't let us stop you though from having your shot of Mama Juana.
No. I'll drink some of this, but I think you might get me a little crazy right now drinking this.
That's the plan.
Ay, Dios mío.
So
me jodí por la pinga.
Which
here we go.
Now you'll copyright.
No, that's copyright.
That's copyright.
Cheers.
Whoa.
I do not recall last time I had
That's not
vodka.
what I didn't sign up for.
Boy.
Get lightweight,
You'd be surprised.
The host of Drink Champs.
Yeah.
So now that we have you, in a proper interview format,
Thank you.
Now you're nice and toasty.
There's nothing proper about this. You know what? You're one of these people that I feel I've always known about you, and you've been around for a really long time.
Yeah, look at my white beard. Come on, guys.
You could have said that. You've been around for a minute.
You could say, tú eres un viejo.
Okay.
You know what?
Well,
You
I
can say
didn't
that.
want
I'm
to
not
say
offended.
that.
You're
I didn't want to say that because we're not that far in
I was
age.
gonna say you're probably like around our age.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I feel like you guys are a little younger than me. I'm about to be 50 years old, guys.
We're not that far behind.
You're what, 49?
I'm about to be 50 right now.
Okay.
We're for anyway. So we probably grew up in the same sort of Miami
generation,
and I feel I've always known about you. So for the two people out there who don't, how did you start in all of this?
Oof, that's a loaded question. All of this encompasses a
A
lot.
lot. Well,
Hey,
look,
we
have
have a lot
time.
of drinks here.
We have time.
So we got time.
We have time.
Wow, man. I'm assuming all of this would be in the hip hop lane, music wise.
Yeah.
So I went to Killian first, and I got kicked out of Killian High School, for people that know, in Kendall, Killian.
True Kendall.
And then I averted what's the fucked up school over there?
Jerry Lee? MacArthur?
No, MacArthur. Jerry Lee is for the junior high.
I hadn't thought about that in I think since I was in high school.
You pulled that out of your ass.
MacArthur. Listen, I'm telling you right now, I already drank, so my memory's fucked up. I can say fucked up, or I can't. I don't know. I just came from a place where they're like, "Can I curse?" I'm like, "Yes, you can."
Yes. You
All
can
right.
curse, yeah.
So my mom helped me avert MacArthur, and I ended up in Sunset, which all my friends actually went to Sunset. And
Southwest, by the way, here.
yes, yes, very Southwest. Oh, Southwest High
Southwest
School.
High, yeah,
I'm like Southwest Miami. So in Sunset in high school, like I was really into music, man. And I mean, from a young kid, I was a skater. I liked punk rock. I liked metal. I was into counterculture music.
Yeah.
That was my thing. Counterculture, skateboarding. If you're a skater, you would get it. It's counterculture, and I was into the counterculture music. And hip hop felt very counterculture. And
especially at that time.
Yeah, and it felt new and more my generation, where the music that I was listening to, like punk and metal and rock, was the generation before me's music. I liked it, but it was their music.
Felt like 70s, 80s.
Yes. Yeah. And hip hop felt more like this is new and it's mine and it's ours, it's kids. And so I got really into hip hop, right? But in the beginning, it was like a mix. Like it's punk rock, it's metal, it's hip hop. Like on a tape, it's Beastie Boys, Metallica, Iron Maiden, the Butthole Surfers. Like if anybody knows about punk rock.
Well, I haven't heard that in a while.
In years. Who doesn't have a well-rounded playlist? You know? Like,
so that's the type of tape I had, you know? So as I'm getting more into hip hop, I'm like, man, this is it. This is what I'm really into. I just become a super fan of hip hop.
Yeah.
Right. And then I get into high school and I start meeting, and I'm an only child. So I start meeting, well, at first I have a tumultuous time in my first high school where I'm getting into beef, fights, problems, Saturday school, suspended. They're sending me to MacArthur. My mom's like, takes me to a psychologist. Like, if this kid goes to MacArthur, he's fucked. Send him to Sunset, and he's got to do ROTC in Sunset. But I was like, yes, because all my friends, I went to Arvida junior high before that. They were like, all my friends were over there, and I'm like, yes, take me over there. So I went to Sunset, had to do ROTC. I got kicked out of ROTC eventually. But anyways, I went to ROTC.
What did you do with the wooden rifle?
I didn't like what they were doing with the wooden rifles. That's the problem.
All right.
Like, I wanted to shoot the wooden rifle, and they were just twirling it.
Yeah.
But
so you were in color guard. Okay,
right.
Pretty much.
Right. So then I just, like I said, I was so into the music, and then I met like-minded individuals in my school that were hip-hop heads. And the thing is that's hard for people to understand now is that hip-hop back then was like this very small, cliquey thing. I always tell people it's like the goth kids. You know, in high school, there was the goth kids, this little group, and then there was the hip-hop kids. Yeah. There was the jocks. We were a small group of people. There wasn't a lot of hip-hop heads, especially in Miami. Hip-hop was seen as a very New York thing. But the Miami hip-hop heads were a mixture of two types of groups. New York transplants, New Yorkers, we called them, or they called themselves. And the Miami ones, or the ones that weren't New Yorkers, that were like, yo, we're into hip-hop, but we're into Miami bass, we're into anything, you know, Two Live Crew, MC Shy D, but it's Run DMC, but it's Slick Rick, and it's also NWA. We spread the love of what of our taste for hip hop. You know, where the New Yorkers were very like
at that time they used to call it Miami bass.
It was
yes,
they called it Miami bass. Yeah, because I remember hearing it on the radio and like they would refer to it as Miami bass.
And I just want to. I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to bring something.
No,
up
it's okay.
Because I did see this quote from an article you did with Ozone Magazine.
Okay,
that I wanted to bring up.
You're taking it back.
And
shout out to Julia Beverly from Ozone
Magazine. We do
Magazine.
research on this show. Just because it's what you were talking about, where you were saying like there was no consistent mixtape DJ in Miami. No one who ever really played the music from Miami. Everyone listened to DJ Clue, Tony Touch. It was good music, but I didn't want to hear shout outs to Brooklyn or the Bronx.
Absolutely.
I wanted to shout out Miami and help put on the local cats.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely tying into what you're saying, which is like it was like 12 people.
Right.
And you all had to like almost import what was the hip hop that you were.
Well, I mean, 12 people in our group.
I'm saying 12 people. I mean, we're Cuban. We exaggerate. That's what we do here.
Yeah. But I mean, in general, in the Miami hip hop scene, a few thousand, literally. Like there was people from North Miami, Hialeah, even Broward, Homestead. We would congregate at hip hop events, and it was a few thousand people that were legit hip hop heads.
Like you all knew each other.
We all, at least by face.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Like that was the hip hop scene in Miami at the time. Like you can't imagine it now, but it was such a niche thing. And so when I was getting to the end of my high school years, me and my crew, I was like, man, what do I want to do with my life? I'm like, I'm not really gonna make it to college on a scholarship. My mom worked at Miami-Dade Community College, which I was able
Shout out to Miami-Dade.
Shout out to Miami-Dade.
If you know, you know.
Which I was able to get a free ride over there, which I squandered actually, but I could get a free ride over there.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, I'm not going off to a university and doing the dorm thing and having that kind of life. Yeah. So I'm like, what am I? So I really like, I have a passion for hip hop. I have a passion for hip hop from Miami. I want to put hip hop from Miami on the map. That was my young juvenile mind saying, this is what I want to do.
You probably hung out on Hot Wheels, didn't you?
Oh no, I did. That was of course, a part of my youth.
Our age, of course, hung out at Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, you had to be there.
The first time I saw a DJ on turntables was a Hot Wheels.
You had to be there.
Probably for us too. If you stop and think
So
about it.
I want to talk a little bit about Two Live Crew.
Yeah,
because when Two Live Crew started, or at least when they were, really popular initially, I mean, we were kids. Like I distinctly remember. What would you say in terms of Two Live Crew? Because I feel that I may be wrong, but I don't think Two Live Crew gets in like the whole.
They don't get the credit.
They don't get the credit. The whole story of hip hop.
No,
they don't get the credit. Why do you think that is?
I think because at that time, in terms of the rap industry, it was very New York centric, and they didn't look at the South or any other region as a viable place for hip hop to really come from. But if you really sonically listen to Two Live Crew, they weren't doing much of a different thing than Run DMC was doing at the same exact time. They were just talking about what they were talking about. They were talking about pussy and ass and fucking, and they were doing what they were doing.
Yeah. Things we hold near and dear to our
heart. Yeah. Whenever I hear people now say, "Oh, the lyrics of songs are," I'm like, dude, when I was 8 years old, I was singing Pop That Coochie. And it was like,
but if you really think, if you compare it to the music at the time, hip hop at the time, rap at the time, they were pretty lyrical, even in that raunchy shit.
Yeah,
they were lyrical.
Yeah.
Like the way that they were flipping the rhymes and the beats were very comparable to anything that was coming out of New York at the time. Like it was there, man. And so I don't think they get their just due. And actually, if we really want to take it even further, like think about what they did for freedom of speech.
Of course, banned in the USA.
Yeah, they literally went against the Supreme Court. So shout out to Two Live Crew, shout out to Luke, everything they did.
Can you imagine if I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Luke, it's just like he's like waiting in the shadows, just showed up. Like,
well, that would be amazing, and maybe I could make that happen one of these days.
One of the things I also wanted to ask you, because I feel that hip hop is one of these genres that the history is very important,
right?
And knowing who you are standing on the shoulders on, right, is very important.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as sort of like a historian, if you will, especially with the newer generation, for them to really understand the history of hip hop and how where we are today, how it evolved, and each generation was an evolution of the previous one?
I try to be that on Drink Champs. In no way do I like to call myself a historian, because I don't think I know everything. But what I like what I like to say is, I think it's sad when, if you consider yourself a hip hop fan or a hip hop head, that you don't want to know, or you don't try to, you have to open yourself to the history of hip hop. You don't have to know it all. But if you consider yourself a part of this culture of hip hop, then you should try to, what we called back in the days, digging the crates. Like try to find out, where did this come from? Where did this sample come from? Who influenced this artist? Where did this come from? And then if you find out there's this pioneering artist, I'm not saying you have to bow down, but respect to that person and that group, or whoever that is, and the engineer and the producer, because there's so much more than the artist. Because I come from the DJ side, from the marketing and promotion, street team side, so I respect all aspects of the industry and the culture, the people who are grassroots.
Yeah,
there's people we don't know anything about that I have to be willing to open up and say, man, there's probably somebody I don't know about. Maybe this fulanito will tell me about Juanito Perez that fucking was passing out flyers for the first Grandmaster Flash show, and without him, that show wouldn't have popped.
Right.
And fucking respect to that pioneer.
Yeah, and it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
I mean, that Two Live Crew thing, I mean, I love hip hop, and I'm not like you in terms of like the knowledge, but I love hip hop, and I feel I'm not qualified to say who's the greatest rapper of all time, but I feel that whenever I have this conversation with people, Two Live Crew is never in the conversation.
They're absolutely underappreciated.
And I try to see it like, okay, am I being biased because I'm from Miami and I literally grew up on this music, or are just people really sort of not understanding, especially younger people, what they meant and what they
don't get it. And then the other thing is that we can't forget Luke and Luke Skywalker Records was one of the first independent, I think the first independent hip hop record label ever. Never mind any other that we hear about Rap A Lot, which are one of the first, and other labels, but they were the first, at least that I know of, hip hop record labels. Excuse me, bro. Little Joe later on kind of took them over, but that's not good.
Yeah. By the way, we got the pinga in the house.
Yeah, we got, that sounds crazy.
So
can I have a cerveza, please?
So we got some, we got some off camera peeps, but
don't fuck up their cameras when you walk over here.
But I do want to call attention to, because you just said we got the pinga in the house.
It sounded wild. Yeah, that sounds wild.
Yeah. So
you guys want a beer?
We're good for right now. We're working our way.
You want a shot of Mama Juana?
Sure. Yes,
Let's take a little shot, because I only have a little bit, so I don't think nobody will die off.
But that gentleman who just came in and shook our hand, he actually trademarked the phrase "de pinga."
He did.
You're our hero.
And sir, kudos to you.
He's my hero, bro.
Because,
security board.
Thank you,
man. I feel that everybody in Miami needs to write you a check.
Yeah, seriously. Like, do you get a like a royalty check at the end of the year from?
No, he exempts all of us. We're all exempted. He knows. Well, he cannot. No.
That's genius.
Yes. You know what? Wait. Salute to the pinga. Then.
Yeah, salud. Pa la pinga. Coño. Why does everything taste terrible today?
Man, that wasn't bad. That was bad.
That was good.
But that's for Santeria too, so it's
also I'm protected now. Great.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a twofer.
Man.
Perfect.
That's something that as much as I try to explain to like my white friends, that I'm like, when you're from like Cuban or Puerto Rican, DR or whatever, Caribbean people, even if you're not a santero, you respect Santeria.
Of course, bro.
Listen, why would you not hedge your bets?
Yeah. No, I say that all the time.
Just in case.
I always say that.
Like, ¿qué me cuesta to avoid a chicken that's been left in the four corners?
I don't know if you guys sharing this experience, but my grandma, right? My grandparents in LA. I don't know if you guys know. I
was gonna say I know you're.
But my grandparents, when I would go visit them, they had it was I don't know if it was Elmita or another. I think it was Elmita La Garita. And they had an apple.
Oh.
You guys know that?
The apple.
That apple.
La calidad cobre probably was.
That apple never rotted, but it was eaten.
Yeah.
Bro, what the fuck?
Eso fue un ratón.
No. That shit was hanging up.
Okay. I thought it was like a little bowl.
I didn't think about that till later in life. I mean, to me, when I was a kid, it was normal. Like that apple, it went to the core and it never rotted, and they changed it and put another apple.
Yeah.
But later on in life, I said, holy shit.
Weirdest game of bobbing for
that
apple.
never rotted, and it went to the core. Yeah. Who the fuck was eating that apple?
It ate itself.
Unless my abuela was eating that shit.
But
merienda, bro.
It's funny because I was just speaking to a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, listen, I didn't grow up with Santeria in the house. My parents were Catholic, pero la Santeria se respeta. That was always like, eso se respeta.
And what I'm saying is not Santeria. That was their like, almost
that is
teetering
like,
on.
That's that fine line that we all teeter
on, because
right?
Cubans, and again, Caribbean folk, even if you're Catholic, here, we're talking with DJ EFN about, religion and Santeria. Even if you're Catholic and you're not Santero, you still respect San Lázaro, Santa Barbara. You have the December 17th and December 4th.
You don't eat other people's foods. We already know what they. You couldn't eat at anybody else's house. Okay, te metía algo ahí, tu comida, you're fucked.
No.
What would you?
You don't need that shit in your life.
What would you say today? Like, what is the state of specifically Miami hip hop? Where are we today with that?
Wow.
He has to take a drink. See, you can give him a hard one there. Yeah, he's like.
I think that's very difficult for me to respond to, because I think I'm in a generational not curse, but that's the wrong word for it. But like, I'm in my own little bubble, and I feel like there's a lot of young people doing a lot. Like Depinga, he's a younger dude out there. Nick, his name is Nick Garcia, not Depinga.
No, it's Depinga.
But the pinga's out there. There's a lot of great young artists. But the thing is that I'm gonna be that old guy that's like, man, it's not like the way it used to be. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that way about everything. But I do think that there's a lot of great young artists representing Miami, representing culture, representing Miami culture the right way and authentically, and they're doing it. But you know, it's never to me gonna feel the way it felt to me back then. But hopefully, they're feeling it the way it needs to feel for them. If that makes sense.
I've always thought that because I try to see it exactly like you say. Whenever, especially if it's like art or music or that, I always try to say, okay, wait, no. Music has always evolved, and in 10 years, people are going to look back at 2025 and be like, remember back then when music was great?
Classic.
Classic. I see now. Like, look, I see now. Like when you think of all this like teen pop from the early 2000s, like Britney, Backstreet Boys. Remember those people used to get trashed on like MTV and all that.
I'm not gonna lie. New Kids on the Block, which when I was young was trash, but now I look back, I'm like, that's kind of good, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of good. No. I remember like in the early 2000s, these people used to get trashed, and now like on YouTube, it's like, remember back then when music was great? Right. I'm like, is that really how it works? But with hip hop especially, and that's something maybe you could chime on. And as you said, hip hop was very much born of counterculture, right? And now that it's such a because I think that hip hop is more than commercial. Hip hop is
corporatized.
What is counterculture nowadays? I'm genuinely asking it. Like
because with social media,
I don't think we have a lot of counterculture. I think that the digital forum, the social media landscape has kind of eliminated that, and it's sad.
Because everybody can find their niche.
Yeah.
And then it's more people than you thought were into the thing you were into.
Yeah. You find your club.
Yeah.
And there's no counter that because you don't have to, you're just there.
Well, you're also insulated.
Yeah.
So
you're insulated. Yeah.
You find your audience or your audience finds you. I mean, it's great because it gives opportunity to a lot of people, but I think a lot of that grittiness is sort of wrong.
I think we could all be nostalgic and romantic of an era that doesn't exist. But then we have to kind of respect the era that exists and be like, okay, we don't get it. Like, we're old people. Yeah. Let's be fucking real, bro.
All right. I will agree with that we're old.
I don't know about that. I'm not ready to die on that hill yet.
I'm okay with being old. But I will say, I do think, like what you were mentioning earlier about like going through the crates, I think that there is something to be said about you appreciated it a little more. It was less disposable. Right. Because you had to go out of your way.
Absolutely.
To go to, I never dug in the crates, but like you had to go to Virgin or Specs or Ricky's Records or whatever. You know what I mean?
It was a physical thing you had to do to experience
it. When I hear people complaining about Ticketmaster now, I was in a digital queue. I'm like, bitch, we had to go to Ricky's Records and like wait outside for tickets.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you lost that paper, you're fucked.
Good luck. Good luck. You paid.
Yeah, there's no digital finding that bitch. Yeah.
Is there anybody now in the Miami hip hop scene that like you're really excited about that you see with a lot of potential?
I've been saying his name for a long time, and I know there's a lot more artists, but Denzel Curry to me is like one of the illest younger guys, but he's already like the younger older guy now.
The younger older guy.
That I think he's coming out of Miami and he's doing a lot of shit. He's dope. He's super dope. But there's a lot of artists. And like I'm a father now. Like I don't have time to listen to nada. Like I don't do shit but do Drink Champs and do Daddy Champs.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to put myself as a curator of what's dope in Miami anymore.
You know, now that you say you're a father, I'm a father too. Yeah. Last year, when you do that rewind at the end of the year, how many minutes of music you listen to? Yeah. My minutes of music were down because I've been listening to like podcasts and shit. Like,
bro, I'm listening about how to survive a nuclear war podcast.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, damn it, and I love music. I've really been into. He's actually been here in the studio, King Tetris.
Oh no, he's dope.
He's
there's a lot of dope artists. Yeah, he's been and we've
peanut butter and cocaine.
Shows. Yeah,
he's actually Junior knows him.
He's super dope.
Great.
I've had that sandwich.
I think he was in he was in the cover of the Herald or something this week. Shout out to him.
Yeah, he's dope.
But I feel that like Miami hip hop, it's always East Coast, West Coast, and that was great for a minute. That was
right.
That was. I often say I'm old enough to remember the Tupac. Biggie days, and what a time to be alive.
Maybe that's also why like Miami hip hop doesn't get because Miami hip hop we're just cool. We're not trying to beef in that way.
Don't get it twisted. Miami hip hop has done a lot. Like Pitbull is bless you fucking guys for coughing or sneezing, whatever the fuck y'all doing.
Thank you for hearing that, because I didn't hear shit.
But Pitbull, world fucking wide for real.
What do you think about that? Hip hop?
Yes.
You think he's hip hop? Because that's an argument that a lot of people have, that Pitbull is not hip hop.
Okay, I come from
at the moment.
From my point of view, if you're rapping, you're hip hop.
You're hip hop. Okay.
That's it.
Fair
That's
enough.
all you need to do. But Pitt, his origin story,
for sure.
No, pure hip hop.
Oh no, the origin for sure.
Like I'm a part of his origin story.
Yeah.
So I know Pitt's origins. You know what I'm saying? So he should be the pride of hip hop for where he's at right now.
He is, and I feel that with him, especially his first album was the Miami album, right? Money ain't culo, like that song.
The way you just said that was funny as fuck. Culo.
That song.
He went from like Connecticut English to culo.
Culo. That was a huge record. And that
culo, damn it, man. What you said with Piccolo, which is on the Pinga's record.
But that sounded so. That sounded what hip hop is. It was underground, I guess. It sounded very different than anything that was out there a lot of times.
It was very distinctly Miami.
I think he's one of those cases that because he became so commercial and so successful and a lot of features, people sometimes, don't give him the credit
they dismiss him, but he's hip hop. Whether you like him, appreciate him or not, it's hip hop.
Yeah.
To me, if you're rapping on the music, you are hip hop.
That's the same thing people say about Flo Rida,
Yeah, but you can't. He's hip hop. He's like you could put him in commercial. You could put him whatever different categories. But if they're rhyming on the record and there's a beat, it's hip hop.
By the way, Flo Rida, nice, like awesome guy. Flo Rida we used to live in the same building, and he used to work out in the gym, and I'm like, man, I'm working out with Flo Rida, like right there, spotting him or whatever, or giving him one time. Yeah, one time. This was years ago, and I'm like, coolest
you
guy.
Didn't get nervous and fuck it up.
No.
He didn't release an album that year.
No, because by that time he had already he had already been there enough times. But I'm like, shit, like coolest guy. He would hang out in the building, and all that.
Cool ass dude.
I'm like, yeah, you're selling millions of records and you're everywhere. Yeah, you're kind of here working out. No pressure.
No, he's a good dude. Good dude.
Whatever. But yeah, no, I feel that like these guys, especially Pitbull, say what you want about him, but Pitbull was more than a vibe. Pitbull was, I feel, a generation because it was a while.
But here's the thing:
it was a lot of songs.
But here's the thing with Pitbull. And I would make the argument with anybody who reaches those levels, right? It's one of those things where it's like, I can appreciate him being like, "Yo, I know where I came from, and I want to get to the top."
Right.
And when I'm at the top, if there's a top after that, let's keep going. I can't fault somebody for that.
No.
Right? I can't fault ambition.
No.
Like I got ambition. I can't fault somebody for ambition. And like you were saying, nowadays, it is commercialized. I mean, I put air quotes around it because it's like, it's just the world we live in. So you're going to criticize somebody for basically just doing what is happening in the world. You know what I mean? It's not like he's selling out and everybody else is still doing underground mixtapes, you know? It's not right to dismiss him.
No, I don't think you should knock him. Like he did exactly what he set out to do, and he's more. And he never stops representing his core.
Yeah,
and that's what I think is dope. But I think most Miami people will appreciate Pitbull for that.
Yeah,
he never forgets what his core, like his messages. I'm from Miami, but I'm taking it to the world.
You know that he did an interview one time that I was like, bro, this guy must be feeling literally on top of the world one time. When he did it, he did an interview on top of the Freedom Tower. I don't know if you ever saw that. He was like up in the Freedom Tower in downtown. And I'm like, shit, for this guy who's like Cuban, his parents immigrated here. And he was doing, I forget with who, but it was like a major like top journalist doing an interview on top of the Freedom Tower. Like, shit, like, bro, like that's a big deal, because of that work he got. Something I wanted to ask you about now that we're talking about Freedom Tower. You did do a documentary about
nice segue.
You read my mind. I was actually going to ask about that.
Well, about rap, hip hop in Cuba.
In Cuba, right.
So talk to us a little bit about that, because I feel that Cuban, my family has come from Cuba recently, has talked to me about this, and I've checked out some people on YouTube and all that, but I feel obviously that maybe for political reasons, it hasn't really penetrated, in the larger hip hop community down here. Tell us a little bit about the documentary, what you found when you were over there, and just the whole like state of Cuban hip hop.
Right. So I think you guys are both Cuban, right?
Yeah.
Cuban American, right?
Yep.
So we grow up and we feel very Cuban growing up, to the point where Cubans that are from Cuba are like, you guys are not Cuban, but we're like, yo, what do you mean? We're Cuban,
Yep.
right? And I grew up and I'm like, man, our parents teach us you can't go back to Cuba unless it's free. And if you go back, you're a traitor, because if you're putting money, you're into the communist regime if you go there. And so you're with that idea. So you don't never think about going.
Cuban guilt.
Yeah, you never think about going to Cuba.
Listen, Cuban and Catholic, the guilt is strong in
Yeah,
this.
hardcore. My dad's Peter Pan. Like I'm
Oh, so
like
is mine.
Yeah, and my mom came in some other program. And so I'm like, damn, bro. Like, but as I get older and older, and trust me, we all grew up, we're indoctrinated. We're diehard Republicans. Reagan's the man. I wrote a letter to Reagan when he got shot. I got back a letter. This is pride of my life.
Oh my God, Reagan wrote to me.
Yeah, Reagan wrote to me. So you know what I mean. We're all Republicans, and we don't even know what Republican means. You know what I'm saying?
You're
and we know
five.
the history of that, right? Because Kennedy and all the bad pigs. So as I get a little older, my ideologies change, my politics change.
That's an understatement.
And I'm like, man, I really want to see Cuba, but I can't because my family prohibits this. And as I become more and more of an adult, I'm like, fuck, man, why can't I? Wait, I thought we were a free people. Isn't freedom to go where the fuck you want to go?
Right.
You guys believe in freedom, right? But not the freedom to go.
Right. Freedom within limits.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, dude, this is ridiculous. So at one point, and this is crazy because there's a lot of stories within the story, but to put it in short, the economy went really bad. It was the economic crash of during the real estate crash.
2008, 9.
Yeah. And I took a big hit because at that time I had a marketing company working for the record labels. And the first thing that got cut was entertainment. And the marketing budgets were cut. And overnight, I lost all my clients, all my accounts. And my life was turned upside down, right? And so I was suffering. I was fucked, right? And in that being fucked era, I was like, I want to do something different. I just need to be creative. And I'm like, man, fuck this, man. I'm gonna go to Cuba. Let me go back a little bit. I met a dude that had been going back and forth to Cuba, and he had been dealing with the hip hop scene in Cuba. And he was like, yo, man, someone introduced me to him, and I met him, and it was cool. But then later on, I was like, oh yeah, that guy went to Cuba. Let me talk to him. And he's like, yeah, bro, there's hip hop in Cuba. And I was like, what do you think about traveling there? Is it safe? He's like, yeah, man, it's fucking good. I go all the fucking time. And I'm like,
this guy was also Latino or
he's Cuban.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you sure it's safe? I was told that if we go there, we're gonna get kidnapped and we're gonna be put in the trenches. I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen to me.
Te van a meter en la cárcel.
He's like, no, bro, you good. If you go there, you're good. And I'm like, you need I was told you need a cultural letter to say you're going there on some culture shit.
Like a culture exchange. Yeah.
Right. Long story short, I said, fuck it. In this time frame of my life, I'm like, I'm gonna go to Cuba. I want to film it, but I want to film it. It wasn't at the time. It wasn't to make a documentary for the masses. It was like, I just want to go because at the time I needed something different. I needed a change of pace. I needed something life changing. Let me go and follow my family roots. See Cuba in the bubble because maybe Cuba might be free sooner because Obama was president,
right?
And it was talk about a lot of things changing.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe this is gonna change. So let me go and see it in the bubble. In the bubble that may be a remnants of what my parents saw. Even if it's crumbling, but it's still like Rome is still there, right? So I want to go see that. And so I go on this trip. And I said, let's film it for ourselves, maybe for our kids, for our grandkids. And we go and we connect with hip hop people over there. We learn this amazing hip hop story in Cuba. Well, I don't want to say Cuba, in Havana.
Okay.
It's a snapshot of hip hop in Havana.
But it's probably indicative.
Right, but still, Cuba is a big island, and there's a lot of different things going on. So in Havana, we deal with everything, and then I try to keep it apolitical, you know? Even though the way that I felt, honestly, was I think if more people traveled there on some cultural shit and connected, maybe we could change politics. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the problem is that we're like not talking.
Especially on the cultural thing.
On the cultural side.
Yeah.
How did you personally feel like when you got, again, after coming from hearing all of this your entire life and now you're there, how did you on a personal level just feel?
It was very emotional for me to get there and be like, oh shit, I'm in Cuba. Like the place, think about it, all of us Cuban Americans, and never in a million years did I ever think I would be in Cuba. Yeah, sure, fuck it. Let's just I'm talking about Cuba. Let's drink the shit. I don't drink that much.
Okay. I don't drink. We're gonna get emotional.
No, I drink a lot of vodka,
crying.
but not shots of it though.
Oh, okay.
So let's go to Cuba in a shot.
Pa Cuba.
Pa Cuba.
I didn't say that like culo.
Holy fuck bars.
I'm gonna sip that one.
So where was I?
So yeah, no, I was
Cuba culture,
like how you felt and the cultural exchange of it all.
Yeah, no, it was emotional, man. When I got there, it was like, you see, it's crumbling. The place is crumbling, but I got an address of where my mom and my family lived in Havana at one point, and we went there, and it looked fucking pretty nice actually. Like these apartment buildings were like pretty good.
Mantenido.
I don't know where it was, but
no, maintained.
Mantenido.
Mantenido.
I thought you were telling me a place in Cuba, and then they took us to another place. It looked like Coconut Grove, where they have the places for all the other countries. The
embassies.
The embassies. It's like Coconut Grove.
Oh,
it looks beautiful.
La embajada.
Right, but then we went into the mountains and whatever. I saw the pobreza, the family.
You didn't just stick to Havana.
Yeah.
And we stayed with a family. I didn't go to a hotel.
Yeah.
The first time we stayed with a family. I went to stay at Haguiando.
Okay.
We rented from a family. They went upstairs while we were living in their house downstairs. They cooked us breakfast. People were like, the families we were with were like, we're gonna kill our chicken that we've had for 2 years to feed you guys. And we're like, no, bro, this is fucking ridiculous. Don't do that, please. And, we took people to dinner to have drinks, and it was amazing. Like, all the sadness is true. All the poverty is true. All the fucked up shit is true. But what my takeaway is if we connect with the people, if we actually travel there culturally and talk to them, I think we can change things because, like, the energy exchange, they're going to want to rebel against what's happening there.
Yeah. But also,
it's the
way you did it, too, because I think a lot of problems with Cuban tourism is when people go and they stay in a nice hotel. They're like, oh, look at me lounging in the pool in Cuba, and we know that's not.
But honestly, there's no nice hotel. Yeah. I went later. Look, I convinced my mom, which was crazy. After 50 years that she had left Cuba, I was able to convince her, and I went with her by myself, me and her.
Wow. And that must have been even more emotional.
No, bro, she almost died on me over there.
Wow.
Because of the emotion. Because we went, and her best friend that she left behind in Cuba, that still lived in Cuba, was gonna meet us and go to the hotel. We were in Nacional, I think.
Yeah.
They don't allow the Cubans into the hotels. She told her friend, "Listen, you're gonna come. We got a room for you. You're gonna stay here. You're gonna hang out with us the way we hang out." And her friend died right before we went.
Wow. Oh. Shit.
And I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Literally.
Literally. That. Wow.
So her friend died.
Like while you were there.
No, right the minute, like the day before we flew, she died.
Oh, no.
Her best friend in the world that she hadn't seen in 50 years.
Oh, my God.
But they had communicated over the years.
Yeah.
And
that's a type of Cuban, like, story.
Yeah, that's a story.
Like,
so we go. So my mom was hardcore about it. Like, she knew it happened. And then we went through the motions. We went to Havana. Then we went to my mom's pueblito El Santo, I don't know where we went to some fucking far ass place where they still have dirt roads and fucking horses.
Can you imagine if it's where your family's from?
Oh, my mom used to call it a culo del mundo.
No, I mean
where she lived.
This place was
where I was born. Actually, I was born in Cuba.
It was out there. Like, but my mom still saw the rocking chairs in front of her house were still there. The same ones in this like little town, and then the local drunk was still there, and he recognized my mom.
Kudos for him for still being alive.
Yeah,
Let's start with that.
Damn.
I mean,
drinking is not bad.
Good liver.
The local
nothing
drunk.
else. Yeah, to the local drunk, like legit. Yo.
He looked at my mom, drunk as fuck, and he said, Consuelito! And my mom was like, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah, he recognized my mom, because she sat on the chair, on the rocking chair, and he recognized her. Anyways, we came back, and then another very Cuban story happened. Me, I'm a war historian.
Yeah.
I love warfare. I don't love war.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
Warfare, the strategy. I wanted to go to where Bay of Pigs happened.
Yeah.
Right? So I say, Mom, come on, I want to go here. My mom is super naive, dude. She took a picture in the area where we were at, and then our family here, she posted on Facebook. They went off on her.
Because they didn't know you were there.
Que falta de respeto, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, they went off on her. Like if she was a communist.
Right, yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
But that's history.
So then when we went back, we got to Nacional. My mom had a panic attack, a nervous, whatever. She collapsed on me. I thought she died.
Oh.
From reading the Facebook comments from the day before, she collapsed on me, dude. She in my arms. I screamed like a fucking child. Ma, she's dying. Like it was crazy, dude. I thought she died. I'm like, I fucked up. I brought my mom to Cuba.
Yeah.
I asked her to come here.
Yeah.
And she died on me. Here. I'm fucked. Like this is fucked up. And the saving grace is that the Cuban people in the hotel rushed in to assist. They helped me with my mom. They got malanga that wasn't easily sourced. They got it from
Malanga to the rescue.
From the malanga cures everything.
It sure
Malanga
does.
Malanga-
cures everything.
Malanga
Sure
is legit.
But let me tell you, malanga in Cuba is not easy to get.
I bet.
Really?
They can't get. That's like
I would think it's root.
that's like a special resource. They found it for us.
They steal everything.
They
you know?
brought it to the cooks in the Nacional who don't usually have malanga. And they made it for my mom, and they brought it, and it was like a big thing for the people that worked there, like la señora que fainted and this and that.
Yeah.
And they fed my mom, and the nurse came, and they helped. And my mom, like, we ended up, whatever, we left, everything, she was fine, we left. And my mom came away from like, wow, man, like she came away with the same idea. The people are the same.
Yeah.
People are great.
Yeah.
We need to connect with the people.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. But then what happened is my mom never talked to their family. That
It's you know, whenever
For
I
the
talk,
record, by the way, we're recording this on El 20 de Mayo.
yeah.
wow.
Just to put that out
But
there.
I feel that like Cuba's something that, you know, I'm glad you're talking about this because, well, I'm glad we're giving you the platform to talk about this because, I mean, you always say that you're Cuban, but maybe it's not everywhere that you could say this story.
Can I say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. And I'm just proud of it. It's just weird to say this, but I'm very proud of it. I'm so Cuban. My tío abuelo was the president of Cuba for one day.
Wait, what?
For one day.
What?
For one day.
Wait, what was his name?
General Herrera Franchi. If you look him up, he's Wikipedia. It's my mom's uncle.
Yeah.
My grandfather's brother. He was the president for one day in Cuba. And I tell people, well, every once so often, I'll be like, I'm so Cuban. President for one day.
I mean, listen, that's more cred than a lot of people. That's more cred than me.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, I have anybody in my family that was like, you know, like doctor. Like,
Much less president.
Yeah, it was before Batista. It was
Yeah.
like before there was some weird thing that happened. He was a general at the time.
Yeah.
They didn't have vice presidents.
Yeah.
There was some weird coup.
You know what happens is that a lot of people, like especially with the history of Cuba, is that they focus only on Castro, obviously, since it's such a big one.
Batista was not a good
He
guy
wasn't.
either.
But even when you look back further back than Batista, Cuba's government was fucked for like always.
Well,
there was constant coups, and your relative was president for a day. You know, like
no, and they had to take when he was president. They said they gave him a deal like be president really quick, and we're gonna. And then they took him to Panama because people wanted to kill him. They flew him to Panama.
So
I
he
want
was-
to do like in my mind, I'm gonna do a documentary about my uncle.
no, that's a good one.
That's a
good
movie in the
one.
making.
That's a good
No,
one.
no,
100%.
I have to find out. I bought a whole like I went online and somebody said buy this whole like thing of like the history of Cuba, and there's 2 books about your uncle.
Yeah.
I have them. I haven't
2
read
books.
them.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just find Cuba so hard to talk about to people who just don't know anything about Cuba because it's It's so layered. It's so complicated.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though. And the reason we started talking about Cuba because I wanted to talk to you about hip hop in Cuba.
Okay,
But before we
hip-hop
get there,
in Cuba, bro.
Before we get to the actual hip hop in Cuba, which we were getting there.
Takes us a minute.
What?
Sorry to divert
How do
everything.
you how
No,
do
that's
you
how we
feel?
have a
How do you
podcast.
feel? And what is your take, especially within the hip hop community, as a Cuban, when you see people, because this is big in the hip hop community, wearing Che Guevara shirts? Yeah.
You want to take another sip of that beer before you answer? Because you want to take a shot? Like,
No, you know what's funny? Because it goes both ways. Like, there was a time where I was like, There was a time I was like, There was a, Like, I changed with the times, to be honest with you. Changed with the times. Like, I remember growing up, listen, I grew up the diehard Republican, fuck the hippies, fuck those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like I'm just, my dad.
You grew up in a Cuban household.
My dad is, Peter Pan went to Vietnam War, the Marine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like I'm die hard.
So
like,
you were not suffering patas sucias.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you know, like crazy shit. So, but okay, I want to be careful how I say this. Yeah, I don't appreciate necessarily the Che Guevara shit, but I don't judge it too much because I've been able to grow up and watch movies, read about history, see why people see him a certain way, see where there's why people look at him in a certain fashion. We watched the Motorcycle Diaries.
Yeah.
That shows him in a great light.
Yeah.
So look, we know the facts that we know, at least as Cubans, is that he's a murderer. You know? And so I'm just like, I've come to a place in my life, at least because I try to be semi-historian. And I don't think if you're going to try to be a historian in a certain way, you have to understand that you don't know the full picture. We didn't live it. We didn't see it. We weren't there. We don't know. There's good guys and bad guys in every part of everybody's story.
But I also think that with him specifically, and especially with hip hop culture, I think most people, and this is just
I never noticed him in hip hop culture that prevalent.
well, I mean, look,
I know. I've seen him, but
I listen. I remember. I think it was Unplugged that Jay-Z did with a huge Che Guevara shirt. I was watching it at home, and I'm like, oh my god, my father's gonna come in here, and he's gonna see this, and he's gonna go off.
Well, listen, my wife wore a Che Guevara shirt, and my mom, I was like, oh fuck.
Where's she from? Not Cuban.
No, my wife is she's Guatemalan and Native American, but Native American die hard in the movement of Native Americans fighting.
Nice.
So she's
Che
hardcore.
Guevara is into them.
It's different symbolism.
It's symbolism, you know?
Yeah,
I think, it's like everything. A lot of times people see something that's counterculture, and he was certainly counterculture, and they just go with that.
They romanticize
it. They romanticize
Right.
it without knowing the
Did you
full
ever
story.
feel the urge to kind of, because I say this because I know you did this once in law school.
I did.
Have you ever had the urge to kind of go to somebody and be like, do you know what that guy was kind of about? Just not in a judgmental way, but just to gauge.
I'm trying to think if I've ever literally done that, and I don't think I have. I don't think anybody's had that in front of me, like that. Well, probably there has been some hip hop artists that probably have, and the way I just looked at it is like they're revolutionary, and I understand why they're revolutionary. I don't identify with that, but I'm gonna let that slide.
I'm gonna let you
because
do
what's the good in me arguing with them about that?
That's the
you
way
know?
I approach it as well. I tell people like, hey, maybe you want to read up on him a little bit more.
Right, not argumentative, but I mean,
Yeah.
like,
I get, but it's just sometimes listen, Cubans, we're gonna argue.
this is
Yeah.
true.
Like we're gonna talk nice and it's arguing.
Yeah, we're gonna argue about malanga.
My wife is Guatemalan native, and when I'm like talking to you guys, she's like, "Why are you screaming at me?" I'm like, "I'm not screaming
We're
at you.
getting along, damn it! Like
I'm
We're talking
happy
like
right
regular
now.
people. Like, what the fuck is
we
wrong with
love
you?
each other right now.
What the fuck? I'm happy.
Okay, well, let's go back because we do this too. Let's go back to hip hop in Cuba. Okay, because I mean, talk about counterculture. Because I've
Right.
listened to some of these people rapping, and a lot of them are rapping against the government, and
Right.
making commentary against the
the
government.
U.S. government.
I've heard some against the regime. Like I've heard some rap against like
The Cuban
the Cuban government.
Oh, you mean in Cuba?
Yeah.
Oh
Sure.
no.
Yeah,
yes.
No,
Yeah.
and we interacted with
Yeah.
them, and it was we had amazing interaction. No, bro, the majority of Cuban hip hop is culture there. It's counter against the government. They're amazing. They
used to be here.
They are the movement.
Yeah, and what was your take when because you were meeting with them and talking to them? What was your take on them? You know, because I mean, they're literally putting their safety and
Their life on the line.
Life on the line.
Yes.
And they did it obviously for
in the open. It's that's the thing. That's the weird part about Cuba. Like the thing is that what Cuba does, they appropriate culture, the government over there, and make it like, oh, we're gonna fund you, and then now you're a part of us and do what we say. And that's what happens though. Like the artists over there are like, we don't want to, like, it's like, do we eat or are we revolutionary against this government? And that's their struggle. And we met those people, and most of them that we met that were counter the government ended up coming to the States.
Right.
And they're here now.
But I'm glad you said that. Do we eat or do we, go against the government? Because us sitting here in an air-conditioned room without an apagón,
it's not fair to judge.
we could sit here. We could say like, "Pero por qué la gente no se tira para la calle?" And why don't they? Which yes, they should do that, but it's very easy to sit here in comfort and say this is what you should be doing when we are fortunately are not living that reality.
We could have a whole different podcast talking about the psychology, and why that how that happens in Cuba and why it happens and why they should or shouldn't do things. That's a whole thing by itself. But trust me, the artistry, the real true artists and hip hop specific, hip hop is in the forefront of fighting the government in Cuba and doing their best. And a lot of them are here now, thankfully.
Did you find similarities with that? Because I know you also did something similar in other countries like Peru and Haiti. Did you find a similarity of how that carries over, like that counterculture?
Well, what I loved about the similarities in all the countries that I've been to, and I'm picking very specific countries. I'm going to, and I want to be careful how I say this. Like, I don't want to say underdeveloped countries, but countries that are not on our radar. Let's say,
okay,
right,
underrepresented,
And what I found out is they all felt that the way I looked at hip hop and its origin as being counterculture, like this fighting thing, this rebellion, they felt that the United States lost its track hip hop wise, and we became corporatized.
Yeah.
And they were like, you guys are a business now, and we are still here in the trenches doing hip hop. Okay. And I found that to be common across all these countries. We went to Peru, we went to Haiti, we went to Cuba, we went to Vietnam, Colombia, and South Africa. Oh, wow. And it was pretty much across the board that they all felt the same way.
And there's some truth. I mean, there is truth to that.
100% true.
There is truth to that.
100% true.
There's truth to that. Because that's something, I mean, something that I would hear all the time is like, for example, now this past year, the whole beef with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, that was made up. That was.
I don't think it was made up.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think so either. But the fact that people even say that is a larger comment to that, the whole commercialization of it.
You wouldn't say that before.
Right. Are we going to make up exactly. You wouldn't say that before. Had a
beef, it was like, oh, there's a beef.
I would almost even argue that is the argument between that this is counterculture fighting corporatism. Kendrick being counterculture, Drake being corporatism, and they were the two entities fighting.
About it that way.
Yeah, I think that's also that
mean my bias.
No, but that's an interesting angle too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also like, I mean, whatever. Talking about Kendrick and the Super Bowl, his performance, the FUs he was giving a lot. And
the what?
When he did his performance, there were so many like fuck yous, and there were so many messages.
To Drake,
yeah, well, just in general, there were so many messages that I think it went over a lot of people's heads.
He was making a lot of messages.
Yeah.
What was your take on it, though?
No, that with Kendrick, that he knew exactly what he was doing.
No,
to your point, the counterculture.
Yeah, he knew
absolutely. And I actually, people would say they don't like that. I agree with that.
Yeah,
this is why I like the music. Why I like hip hop. Be counterculture. Let's do this. Let's rebel.
If you have a platform that big.
Because I think about like when we were watching that performance and we were watching it in a group. Like I got it. I'm a fan of his, so I got the references. Like starting with like the car with the Grand National, I got all the references. But I could tell there were a lot of people in that group that were like, "What's going on here?" And I'm like, "Woo, this went over your head."
I just like his pants.
Right.
But he's one of those like. he is one of those rappers that is
No, to me, he's the best, one of the best right now.
yeah. That he is, yes, he's technically commercial, but he still has that counterculture
Absolutely.
spirit.
But is he
in him.
commercial or is he popular?
Well, commercials, anything that's selling a certain way.
But there's I think there's a fine line between commercial and popular, right? Because popular you could sell and be popular, and you can still have that counterculture within you, right?
Right.
You're not selling out, so
Selling
to
out,
speak.
right.
I mean, listen, when you're a white woman in Ohio singing "Bitch, Don't Kill My Vibe," I don't know. Like,
Right.
your music got through. Your
I don't
music got
listen.
through.
I don't know what Darlene in Ohio went through that day.
So,
Okay?
what did she do that day?
It was a long. It was a hell of a
I
wait.
think you want to shout out Mama Juana.
It
Let's
was.
go.
She did a shot at Mama Juana.
Pass it on. Pass it on.
It was a long wait in the car line at the school.
Pinga, you got another beer over there, bro? Because you're looking too cool for school over there right now, bro.
They are looking so relaxed right now that
No,
I'm
this
just
guy
like,
thinks he's LL Cool de Pinga.
I'm like, El Cool de Pinga.
That's a whole other,
That is,
convo as well.
El Cool de Pinga grew up in Westchester, actually. Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Salute.
Pleasure to be here, guys.
No, likewise, man. Thank you for coming. I have to say, I don't know if this is the Mama Juana talking, but having seen Drink Champs, and I'm sure we're gonna, get into that now. You are, of the two hosts, you're the more quiet one,
Right.
And so I was kind of like, I don't know if he's gonna be gregarious or if we're gonna, and I'm like, oh, you're fucking great. Like you're jumping in with both feet. Like I just feel like you're the more reserved.
Well, I think
of the
most
two.
mortals will be quiet next to Nori.
Right. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I grew up with, I know Nori. We have a long history. And the thing is, and I actually said it today on the podcast, like, I'm the DJ, he's the rapper.
Okay.
I'm, like, if both of us were in front,
That's the dynamic.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He's the rapper. And I'm gonna be the DJ, and that's the dynamic. If you understand that, I don't know.
Yeah.
That
Of
makes
course.
sense.
That's
but
the
yeah.
Of course.
perfect. That's the
So,
perfect.
speaking of Drink
That's why this
Champs,
doesn't work.
welcome to. We're gonna do
You're
our.
both DJs
We're
or both rappers?
We're both. It's very sad. We're both in the background. Yeah.
I'm gonna do. Oh shit, we have two DJs here. A real DJ and a fake DJ.
An acronym DJ. Yes.
I'm a retired DJ. Don't worry about me.
He's never been on a turntable. So
No.
you're more
No.
real
Oh,
DJ.
no, I
than-
did 15 years of DJing on turntables.
So
Now I'm wondering if we even went to parties that he DJ'd. You know
Maybe.
what I mean?
Probably.
Like
Possibly.
unos 15. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know Quinta, so.
probably.
The clubs in South Beach, yeah.
Oh yeah,
not
there
the
are no
Quinta, though.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he would have DJ'd Quinces back in like
No,
the
you would have
80s,
heard
early
some
90s?
raunchy ass shit, bro. It
Like quinceañeras
would have been
nowadays
like,
would
fuck the police and the Quinta. I don't think that would have worked out, bro.
WA playing in the Kings. Después de they'll play de Niña Mujer. Right. Fuck the police.
He's diverse. We heard his playlist.
Okay, we're gonna do our own version here from your show of
Quick
a
Time
Quick Time
and
and Slide.
Slide.
You knew that was coming. That was coming. Okay. I got some questions. Do you know how this works?
I do not know how this works.
Okay, so
So we gotta take shots though? No, I'll drink out of my beer.
So if you don't,
We're recording our weekly episode
If you
after this,
don't
so I don't know
answer,
how.
what is
You're
it?
gonna record after this?
Yes,
Te
sir.
jodiste, bro.
If you don't answer, you gotta take
a shot.
and then if he answers, he doesn't take a shot. Okay.
Wait. We all have to like.
No. I have some questions for him.
So if
I
he-
know the questions are to him.
If he doesn't answer, he has to take a shot.
Right.
What do I
He
do?
wants no, we all take a shot.
Well,
okay,
I'm drinking this.
Okay. So, Luda, the rapper or the actor?
The rapper.
Okay. Will Smith was just on your show a couple of weeks ago or the other day. Will Smith, the rapper or the actor?
The actor.
Oh, okay.
I can see that.
Okay. Cash Money Millionaires or Rough Riders?
Rough Riders.
Really?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay. I'm a Jewy fan. Who's a better
I'm a
rapper?
Juvie fan too, though, by the way.
Who's a better
If
rapper?
you would have said Juvie versus somebody else, it would have been different.
Pitbull or Flo Rida?
Oh, damn. Both.
Do you want him to have to leave Miami? Is that the goal here?
I have a history with both, actually. A great history. Flo Rida was down with the crew. Damn, what was the name of their crew? Coño de pinga, bro. There was.
You are gonna owe this man so much
I
money
know,
at the end of this
Like,
episode.
yeah.
Are you keeping track? Because
Flo Rida was down with this super underground crew. I can't think fucking of the name, and I'm sorry, guys. They were this super underground crew in Miami that he was a part of, and then Pitt. I've known Pitt for years since he was a little kid.
So
he was a puppy.
Since he was a little puppy.
So a couple of years ago, and when this happened, I was like I used to watch Drink Champs like every week or whenever. Luda was on your
Groundhog,
show.
sorry, the Groundhogs was the name of the group that Florida was down with. Sorry, I had to say it. Sorry.
It came. Luda was on your show, and he asked, or you guys talked about, which is, I think, true, the 3 greatest questions in all of music. Okay. You remember what those 3 questions were?
Absolutely not.
The 3 greatest questions in all of music was...
He said this?
You guys talked about it. How much had you drunk? Drank.
Roll the tape. Roll
As much as you're drunk.
The 3 greatest questions in all of music was, did the bitch move?
I don't think she did.
Is Annie okay?
I don't think she
And
is.
who let the dogs out?
We said it that way.
You don't remember this?
It's way too articulate for us.
You know,
I don't think we would present that question.
oh, you
that
did.
articulate.
Oh, you did. You
Who
did.
said that?
All of you were talking about this.
No, but who presented those questions originally?
I think it was Nori.
I doubt that very much. That is way articulate, bro.
So Luda actually did answer that the bitch did move.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
So do you know who let the dogs out?
the bitch.
the bitch, obviously, yeah. Well,
The bitch. And her name was Annie, and she's fine.
Is this what we're going
So
with?
Annie's a bitch.
Annie's the bitch who let
And
the
she let
dogs
her
out.
dogs out.
and then she let the
Wait,
dogs-
this is
right.
what we're running with?
Listen,
Annie's a bitch, but she's not such a bitch that she let her dogs out, though.
well, that's,
Right,
that's why she had to get out of the way.
Right. Right.
To go let the dogs
So-
out, and then she was fine.
This was answered here today. Pero let me tell
Yo,
you.
this is-
Boris has a bag of chips, bro. What the fuck is going on here?
What is happening over there, by
Boris
the
is
way?
watching Star Wars right now.
Okay.
Bro.
How much do you remember of your show when you finished recording it?
I don't remember shit.
All right.
No, you know what? I will say we don't drink on the show, and
we don't remember.
We don't remember.
Like,
So
all
I
right,
can't imagine.
Please don't make me feel bad.
No, when we finish recording, that we have to do like our show notes. I'm like, what the fuck did we just talk about
I
for
don't
an
remember
hour?
anything from my show, bro. And I don't watch the show after. And then people, on Twitter, or on Instagram, they tweet, "Oh man, when you said that," I'm like, haha. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking. Ha! When you said that, haha. I just put LOL, LOL. I don't know what the fuck
If you
I said.
it must be true.
Let me ask you this. A little bit more controversial. I don't want to talk about Diddy because this is about you. And
So
I
you're
don't
gonna go
wanna
about
talk
Kanye?
Huh? No. Shit, I remember we got dragged a bit. We don't
got
have to
dragged hardcore,
we
bro.
don't have to relive that.
I'm good. I survived.
That you survived.
He's
He's here. But how would you say the whole shit with Diddy, and to a large extent?
I thought you were gonna say Diddy.
No, because I
don't know where this question's going, so let's see.
Because I don't want to.
figure it out.
I'm not going to ask you about your like whatever.
I don't have nothing with Diddy.
No, because
He's like, how many baby oils?
bottles did you-
well, you were at a freak off. You know what I think is the wildest thing? The wildest thing about these fucking freak offs is that they're saying Gloria Stefan was one of them.
But come on, it could be true.
No.
No, she could have just been there.
No,
I'm not saying she freaked
First of all,
off.
I'm not believing it unless they switch out baby oil for Violeta Agustin Reyes. Then maybe.
Right, okay, maybe.
No, she might have been there like, coño, esto está de venga.
But you know the rumor.
This guy's making money hand over fist over you today. Like straight up.
we're gonna have to write you a check when
Why
this
are
is
you
over.
wearing the glasses like you're making all the money from us right now?
But what I wanted to ask you about, everything going on with that case, and to a large part, even R. Kelly's whole thing.
Wow, you took me to R. Kelly too, bro? I have nothing to do with that at all.
Well, I didn't think you had anything to do with the
How do you
freak
feel
offs.
about your
I know,
people?
but I mean, at least I'm more relatable to the Diddy thing than to the fucking R. Kelly
But what I
shit.
wanted to ask, do you think that all this craziness, do you think this is gonna have any effect on hip hop in terms of culture? In terms of
The bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
Damn. That's a good question. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I don't really have a good answer for that. I think that it tarnishes hip hop.
Right.
I think it sucks when not just Diddy, but even Kanye, like when we have these people that are such big figures in hip hop culture looking crazy, like it just doesn't help the culture. But then again, if you ask me, I want the culture to go back. Go back into obscurity, go back to its roots, go back to its counterculture roots, because really what happened is corporate America grabbed hip hop, monetized it, made it different. That's me. Maybe that's not the right answer, but that's me personally. I like being the goth kid, aka being a hip hop kid, that we were just a small group of people, enjoyed this culture, and our wealth was experiencing, breakdancing, doing graffiti, who had the best lyrics, who could rap. Oh, he fucking killed you on that rap. You know, oh man, he killed you on that fucking b-boy stand. You know, like that's what I enjoy about hip hop. And I don't know if we'll ever get back to that. We're in this big corporate world, and then this is what's happening. This is the
Or at least in the
Genie.
U.S.
I think the genie's out of the bottle.
super out of the bottle, and not just in the U.S. because hip hop is a world phenomenon, business wise as well. I'm saying when we went to Vietnam, and coming home in our documentary series, we met Saboy, and Saboy is this dope hip hop female artist, right? And then shortly after we left, she became famous because it was Obama went for the first time as the first U.S. president to go to Vietnam since the war, and on CNN, this female artist or female comes out of the stands and starts rapping to Obama, and she went viral. And since then, she has endorsements from Adidas. She's in movies. She's and in Asia, never mind. Like she's a phenomenon.
That's one of those things that when you go around the world as you have and you see that, I mean, you really do take a moment, I imagine, to think how incredible it is, because you could almost go back to where hip hop like started, like time and place, and the fact
that start
right. No, but even before that, like in the 70s, you know, time and place.
Well, I didn't live the 70s part of it.
Well,
I was a kid, a baby.
But you can almost pin when it sort of started, time and place, and that from there all over the world.
Right, I'm early enough to. But this is the thing. This is the thing that I from my exploration and travels. Hip hop is one of the biggest exports of the United States. Cultural exports.
Yeah,
cultural
for sure.
Yeah, cultural. And I think we've done a disservice to not appreciate that. Now, in the Doge craziness of Elon Musk, they discovered that we were investing, and this is funny because from the beginning, I always made a joke that I'm like, there are people like, where are you going to go for your Coming Home series? I'm like, fuck, I want to go to Mongolia because that's like, to be the last place on the planet to go to that you would expect hip hop. I'm like, I'm going to go to Mongolia. Well, in the Doge craziness, they were investing in hip hop in Mongolia.
No way.
To be like some weird like hip hop,
like a grant,
like a plant for the United States to like do some spy shit. And I'm like, fuck,
through hip hop?
They fucked up Mongolia before I went there.
Damn.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Attila the Hun is a great hip hop name.
Well, Attila the Hun is off the chain, bro.
Yeah, I mean that's a great hip hop name.
It is a great hip hop, and he was a great. Well, he killed the game.
He
literally killed the game.
There's some places that like I'm sure there is underground hip hop, but like Finland, like are there Finnish
hip hop
rappers
everywhere?
Of course,
what is Dutch hip hop?
Dutch hip hop,
Lots of clogs.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm telling you right now. Honestly, no jokes. All jokes aside, hip hop is everywhere.
Yeah,
but it comes from America, from the United States, and we should look at it as like, wow, man, we've imported or exported this culture that if we really took care of it, and I'm not saying for the government to take care of it because that would have been terrible. But I always look at the hip hop artists here like we never appreciated the international market. The bigger artists, they underappreciate it. And like, if you go to like Germany right now, for example, they are in love with like 1990s hip hop. Really? In love. Like, Karis One right now is in Europe doing shows with like 10, 20,000 people. Yeah. Wow. All over Europe.
In France, hip hop is huge.
When I went to Vietnam, they were talking about these pioneers in America. I never heard of these fucking people. They were like, the guy that popped and locked and did this. I'm like, okay, cool. They were like, no, that guy's the biggest guy in the world. And I'm like, that he did this? They're like, yes, that guy. I'm like, all right, cool, bro, whatever, bro. Like they really appreciate what came out of America in hip hop wise, and to them, it's like such a symbol. And actually, we should think about it as a country and as a government because it's a big symbol of democracy in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like that could really do more than war, is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The way you're talking about it, it's funny because I think back. I know hip hop, like you're just saying, is very distinctly American. But I also remember hearing, again, I'm not this old, guys, but that jazz was a very distinctly American
Very
music
much so.
format.
Yes.
And now I'm trying to draw the parallels between the two, which is jazz was very freestyle. It was freestyle essentially, like and hip hop is as well. So I think like there's something to be said for like hip hop is the new the through line from jazz.
Can I tell you something very negative?
Okay.
Just like jazz and just like hip hop, you ever heard the story about the hip hop police, the hip hop cops?
No.
Back in like the 70s or so?
No. I mean, the 70s, going to hip hop.
Yeah, when it first started. Yeah,
So there's this thing very well known now. If you could research it afterwards, there's a hip hop police. Mm-hmm. And in the 90s, going into 2000s, the police were targeting hip hop artists.
Okay.
And that happened with jazz.
Sure did.
It wasn't the hip hop police, it was with jazz.
Billie Holiday.
Maybe it was COINTELPRO, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if that was the same thing that happened with Malcolm X and everybody else. But we have to understand that there's a faction of the government that doesn't like counterculture in any form. They think it's gonna.
It's a threat to the status quo,
and they will go and inject themselves in it and try to control it. And so, I mean, we have to understand that. Like, I'm not trying to make a case for why it's good or bad or what the politics are of it, but we have to know that the things that we know are not the way we think. They didn't happen organically, is what I'm saying. Like, things have been injected in it. Policing has happened. People have been rooted out. And then you've had things, maybe someone has put someone else in place. So maybe in the hip hop police type of idea is that the artist that should have been didn't, and then somebody else came.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
And we've lost artists.
Somebody a little more watered down, more
palatable.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think also going with what you're saying in terms of hip hop culture is that I think a lot of people don't realize, or especially people that don't listen to hip hop, is that how ingrained it is just in terms of the roots of like how it affects or the influence it's had on like fashion, on just the way we speak, on on everything,
it
really on
permeates
everything.
Everything. When I started to see CNN hosts say beef and what's popping, like I'm like,
because I think people don't even think about that anymore that.
They don't even understand that that's hip hop.
Yeah.
That it comes from hip hop.
It's just part of the culture.
It's part of our vernacular as Americans now. But when I was a kid, young, I was like, bro, they're talking hip hop right now.
Barbara Walters was not saying beef.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Yeah, do you have a beef with me, or it's popping right now?
Yeah. She probably had a huge beef with you guys, though.
Yeah, no, because there's people that still think about it. There's people that still think about like, oh, I don't listen to rap music, but it's like, yeah, but the shoes you're wearing, the clothes you're wearing, the shows you're watching,
the car you're driving,
even pop, like traditional pop music is completely infused with
pop songs. Don't have featured artists now, and the featured artist is 9 times out of 10 a rapper.
Right.
But not even that. Like if you look at like the most poppiest of pop, like what we were talking about in the early 2000s, like in NSYNC, like NSYNC's records were like pure hip hop.
Yeah,
like in terms of the sound and it goes like the rabbit hole goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. Yeah. So to close it up, if you could have a Mount Rushmore of Miami rappers, who would you have on there?
Mother Superior, which you guys, I don't know if you know about.
No, I have no.
An amazing female artist out of Miami, signed to Island Music in the 90s. She coined the phrase "the bottom." So if you ever heard anybody say the bottom of the map or the bottom, referring to Miami, have you heard that?
No.
Have you heard that?
No.
Well, let's say Drake. He said,
started from the bottom down here.
I mean,
but
you might not say that refers to that, but I take it that way. So a lot of people call Miami the bottom because of the map.
Yeah.
And she coined that phrase. She was one of the first rappers. They actually called her the female Nas at her time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I would put her, Mother Superior. There's a dude that passed away called Jay Pure, and this is my opinion, my personal.
Hey, it's your Mount Rushmore.
Jay Pure was this MC that I was trying to manage at one point, and he was on his way up, and he got in a bad car accident. His brother was I think he was about to be an NFL player, and they were both in the car, and they got in a car accident. He was like fucked up and intubated or whatever, and he died years later. 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But the accident happened how long ago?
97.
Oh, wow.
But in my opinion, had he come out, he would have been like an Andre 3000 type out of Miami. Like, this is the talent level he had.
That's talent.
Yes.
So, and again, I'm not saying my Mount Rushmore is not the people that made it. I'm telling you the people that I feel like
It's your Mount
it
Rushmore.
would have been impactful to Miami hip hop. Because I do feel like, for example, Mother Superior, had she come out, she was on Island Music, and she got shelved. Her album got shelved, right? Yes, please. If she would have came out, the soundscape of Miami hip hop would have been different.
So she never actually got to release her
album is out now, but it got shelved back then.
Okay.
Got shelved back then. But she had a song with KRS-One called Miami's on the Map, where KRS-One is saying, Where are you at? Where you at? Miami's on the map. Like, what I'm trying to say is that she was a lyrical female MC from Ghouls. You know where Ghouls is?
Ghouls, yeah.
From Ghouls. Damn. Had she come out, the people inspired by her from Miami would have been different.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
It would have changed the course of a lot of people.
The course, lyrically, visually, like, amazing. Like, she was our queen in hip hop at that time in the early 90s. And then she had the song Rock Bottom of the Map, which represented Miami at a time when hip hop in Miami was dictated by New York hip hop. Mm-hmm. She was like, no, rock bottom of the map. That's where we're at. I don't know. What the fuck is that? A trick question? No, he didn't produce that. No, he did not. Sorry, guys. This is what we do all the time.
Didn't, bro?
But
It's organic. It's organic.
Redman did produce on her album. He did.
Okay.
And her video was directed by the Jizza from the Wu-Tang Clan at the precipice of the beginning of the Wu-Tang blowing up.
Right.
Which is crazy too. So her, I said J Pure who passed. J Pure was like Andre 3000, bro. And then I would say Luke has to be on that, bro. Mm-hmm. I would say the whole 2 Live Crew, if you could put them in that one bunch.
We'll do it.
Yep.
Because I don't think it's fair to 2 Live Crew as a whole to not put them together.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Brother Marquis, rest in peace. Who else? Fresh Kid Ice, rest in peace. You got no. Oh my God, Paul, I'm gonna kick your ass, bro. Mr. Mix. Hurricanes was with the Beastie Boys, bro. Coño, bro. I can't take you anywhere. And Luke. So
there's been a lot of drinking.
Yeah, there has been a lot of drinking, bro. But this guy's off the chain.
A little bit.
And he's fucking up my mind. So you got 2 Live Crew, JT Money and the Poison Clan. Poison Clan's off the chain, bro. Excuse me? Yeah, please don't talk anymore. How's that 4? How many more people we know?
4.
You
can add whoever you want.
Mount Rushmore's usually 4. But if you got a fifth one,
they always want to add a 5th one. So, you know.
Let's say a 5th. Let me think.
Let's add a 5th. There's room on the mountain.
No, bro. I'm not going to put our own friends on it. I mean, I put Pitt on there because I really think Pitt has done a lot, man. I think I'll put Pitt on there, man. Okay. Can I tell you our experience with Pitt in Mexico?
Okay. You can't ask that question and have us say no.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah. No. Like, now we want to know.
Do not tell us.
No, at all.
About Pitt in Mexico. Please don't.
So listen, bro. I really do have a lot of respect for Pitt, and we have a lot of history, a lot that we probably won't get into today. So we had this show. When I say we, myself, I had an artist called Garcia. I mean, he's still down with my crew. Garcia's still a part of it. He's a video music film director. He won an MTV award.
Oh, nice.
But he was an artist with us. is with us. I don't want to say he passed away. Or anything.
Right. Very clear.
So we had these homies in the West Coast. They're like, yo, man, we want to book you for a show. It's going to be with Pitbull. And I'm like, yeah, man, fuck that. Yeah, let's do it. It's in Mexico. I'm like, yeah, cool. In Mexicali.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are familiar with Mexicali?
But that's under California, right?
It's on the border.
Yeah.
Right. So this so
You're not gonna get us in trouble with Pitbull, are you? For telling this
no,
story?
no,
Okay,
no, no,
okay,
no, no,
okay,
no.
okay.
This
Hey,
actually
he's the one saying the story.
I know. I'm just saying.
no. I had okay. I want to preface all of this to make sense. So Pitt was signed to TVT Records, and I'm not gonna get to more story about that because there's a lot of I could talk about that. And TVT Records went bankrupt.
Okay.
Right? That's where he had his first big hit, Culo, and all that. Went bankrupt. So if they went bankrupt, you guys understand that he's in turmoil. He can't put out records.
Right.
He's fucked. And I was talking to him one day around that time period, and he said to me, bro, I'm surviving on the West Coast. Basically, the Mexicans, he didn't say Mexicans, but he's like, the Latinos on the West Coast are booking me every other weekend, and that's how I'm surviving. Right? So then these homies that we had that were a fan of what we were doing booked me and my artist to do a show with Pitt in Mexicali. I'm like, cool. And this is around that same time period. Pitt was flown, I think, directly into Mexicali, but we went and flew in with our homies, and they drove us across the border. It was a whole fiasco, bro. And we go to this crazy venue, and the shit was packed. It was, I don't know, man. I think it was like 1,000, 2,000.
I'm just envisioning you and Pitbull in front of, like, in a car, like going through the border.
No,
like,
Pitt wasn't with us.
Tarantino movie.
No, Pitt wasn't with us.
Oh, okay.
Me and Garcia and my Mexican homies, and Pitt was. I think Pitt was already in Mexico, but my Mexican homies, we had to drive across the border with me and Garcia. So we could drive over there. We were in this venue. It was like, I think it's 2,000 people. I might be wrong, give or take something, but it's like a lot of people in this rough kind of venue, right? It wasn't the highlight venue of anybody's. And we perform, and me and Garcia, and my boy Garcia is a Cuban artist as well.
Okay.
And we're all very pro, like the way we talk about what we're doing. Cuba.
Hey, you're proud Miami, Cuban
Proud
boys.
Miami.
Yeah.
And yo, the Mexican audience was super like, yeah, fuck yeah. They were going crazy. It was, wait, I forgot one thing that I noticed when I walked into the venue. A huge, like 3-story height venue, like in terms of the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
In the stage, a humongous Cuban flag.
So you're activated. You're activated. Like,
No.
let's go.
We were like, whoa, this is off the chain, right? And yeah, and then I'm saying we were like, Cuba, good. I think that made us say Cuba. Latinos, everybody was hyped. But this is what was so dope about Pitt, man. And this is why I have a lot of respect for Pitt and how he respects his fans. Pitt came out after we performed, obviously, in a sombrero to mariachi music.
Nice.
And they fucking went crazy. The fucking crowd went bananas. And I was like, bro, this fucking guy, that's the illest shit ever, bro.
That's awesome.
He knew what to do.
He's showing the love.
He showed love to his fans. But mind you, what I was trying to tell you, a couple months back, he told me, I'm only getting booked on the West Coast. This is what's making me, this is how I'm surviving right now during this turmoil with the label.
Yeah.
Every other week, those are the people booking him, and mainly Mexican people.
Right.
They're showing him love. So he returned that love, obviously,
And
which was smart.
what I've always liked about him, and I think Pitbull's one of these people that, like, no matter what age you are, whether you like his music or not, people really do respect him because he really has put he's talked the talk and walked the walk. Like he's not only always represented Cubans in Miami, but he's put money back in the community.
Absolutely.
He has a school. He has, and I'm sure he does a lot of stuff that we don't even know about. Yeah. And he's kept it real after all these years. He hasn't sold out. He really hasn't in terms of Miami.
No, he's a regular dude. I mean, but obviously he's this world superstar. So he has to guard himself in a lot of ways. But nah, bro, like, listen, I hit him up and it might take me a day or two to finally get a hold of him, but he hits me right back.
He doesn't forget where you came from.
Amanda, if you want to be on the show,
seriously,
Pit,
yeah.
you know, come on. You know,
I think he would do the show, honestly. I think he would be on the show.
You know, we got a nice couch, a nice chair.
No,
you know?
I think he would totally do it.
You're more than, listen, estás en tu casa, as we say. You can come back as many times as you want.
Listen,
by
we
yourself.
said it on Drink Champs, but I don't know how much we really mean it.
We really mean it because we're
I'm playing.
No, I'm saying because we're already we got a couple people who it's the second round that they've come back. Some of them the third. So
yeah.
No, I appreciate that, guys.
No, dude, you're
family.
hip hop, Kendall and Miami and Cuban. Like, hello,
your
like,
family. All right, whether you want it to be or not, at this point you are.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, we hope we didn't ask you anything that could get you, in too much trouble.
Nah, I'm good. And
because people get so offended now. Like, how did you not put so and so on your Mount Rushmore? Because it's my Mount Rushmore. That's why.
No. Whatever I told you, I'm fine with. And remember, at the end of the day, I brought you the pinga.
Yeah,
That's true.
And now, we got to pay him like, I don't know.
Thank you, by the way. Like all of the sponsorship money now has to go to
He
him.
lost it to his brand.
Yes, it's all going over there.
And look at Boris. Boris looks like he's fucking. Look at DJ Timbaland, DJ Premier over there. Like, we don't know this guy over there. He's like Biggie Smalls. Who is that guy? Who is that guy over there, bro? Do you guys know that guy?
Again, están en su casa. That's the thing. Everybody's super comfortable.
So, well, Drink Champs is like the little, well, not little engine that could because there's a big engine, but it just keeps going and going and going. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the show.
Thank you.
Like, it's funny because when we confirmed you, I was like, oh shit, like he's gonna come. I was like, do it out. He's gonna cancel. Because I was like, shit, I've been wanting you on the show for a long time.
No, I told. I'm sorry that it was like so difficult.
No, not for that.
No,
It's just.
I told you, like,
You don't want to get his hopes up, is what it comes
I was
out,
like,
yeah.
but it makes sense for me because I'm super on some dad mode shit, bro.
Yeah.
So like when
should
I'm not
be.
working, it's dad mode.
Yeah, of course.
But I told you, I'm gonna do Drink Chat. I can come right after.
Yeah.
But I might be drunk right after.
No, because the thing is that our show, we're as we were telling you before we started recording, like we started in my son's old playroom.
Yeah.
And, I had a wish list of people that I wanted on the show, and you were on that wish list. So
thank you,
whenever
man.
I get somebody that's on that wish list on the show, I'm like, fuck. Like
He doesn't want to get too excited.
I'm like,
because
they're really gonna be here? Like,
Nah,
what?
man.
Like,
No,
they're
listen.
really
I think what you guys are doing is dope. Keep doing it, man. Like I love it, man. I think it's bigger than just Miami. Like you guys are representing Miami, obviously,
we got
but it's
listeners
bigger.
in Cambodia.
Excuse me.
Like we got listeners in
word?
Cambodia.
Yeah.
And at first, when we first got the analytics for it, we're like, oh, maybe it's just
What
somebody.
do you think is resonating with Cambodians?
I think what it is, I think it's a group of people, either Cubans or Miami people, whatever.
or
that-
communism?
I don't know.
I mean, listen, I'll take the list. I
that
don't care.
ended up in Cambodia, and it's consistent. Like,
Really?
yes.
Yes. You got to start asking like Cambodians. Please tell us what do you see in
What
us?
is it?
When we
And
first
also, do you like hip hop? Because then you can go and do
when
your
we
next
first started getting numbers from Cambodia, I'm like, okay, that's somebody that maybe came across our podcast, saw 2 minutes of it, and scrolled. But no, that we kept getting more and more numbers from Cambodia.
But
And I'm
like significant numbers?
not like thousands of people, but yeah.
No, but I mean,
yeah,
like,
numbers.
even it's more than 10. That's
I was going to say,
significant.
listen, more than 20 people in Cambodia listening to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we
like,
also have in Australia, but I know there's a lot of Cubans in Australia.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, there are. There's a lot of Cubans in Australia.
Se
Like,
fijaron la-
the whole thing,
Well, there's Cubans everywhere. Guys.
there are, but Australia.
We are all over the fucking place.
But I know there's a community in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, because Australia, when it was
Do they have like an establishment so we could all visit them like tourism?
there is a town. It's like a little.
There's like a
I
little
don't want to say a little
neighborhood.
Havana. I went to Australia and I saw a few of them, and they speak with the accent, and entonces tú sabes hablan de cubano, and I'm like, what a mindfuck! like I'm like, you're talking Cuban, but then you're
So did
I'll
they
have
tell
the
you, like,
Vegemite.
Did they tell you to like throw a lechon on the Barbie? Like,
Yo, have you guys seen the Japanese guy who has the Cuban food truck?
I have.
Yo,
I
off the
have.
chain.
Yeah, did you see that? Yep. That one, I was like, coño, in Japan. Like,
That's dope. That's dope.
Pero yeah, thank you so much
Yes.
for let's take one last shot.
yes, because listen, we know you're quite busy.
I'm a urinate on this seat
And,
right now, but I
well,
don't
we
even.
know about-
Where's my shot? I don't know where my shot's
Isn't it
at.
over there? ¿No está por allá?
Did we lose it?
I don't know anymore.
Dame eso ahí.
Listen, I was drinking coffee and then liquor, so yo
Y
estoy
de me
mal.
jodí para la pinga.
What did you think we were gonna do here? Have smoothies with like?
No. I'm just saying, like, yo estoy like, I'm like this because I'm like with the caffeine and then the liquor and the caffeine.
Yo, I
like,
do the
yeah.
same thing with caffeine, bro.
So, bueno, to our
Guys.
podcast, to your podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for being
Thank
on
you
it.
so
Thank you so
much.
much to
Thank you
Miami,
guys.
to hip hop.
Appreciate you guys. Great podcast, guys.
Thank you, man.
Holy fuck!